Hello to all my perseverance pioneers out there. This is the Perseverance Mindset Podcast. I am your host, John Zadzura, coming to you live once again from our famous Dialogue Den. As you already know, you've been in this den many times. We discuss many topics from health to fitness to business to policy affairs. And we're so looking forward to having you joining us tonight for an even more important and pressing topic. So tonight's episode isn't theory. It's not a drill. It's a countdown, as well as everyone running around like a chicken with their head cutting off, talking about, are we currently in the stages of World War III? Are we already there? Are we past the precipice? Because over the past few days, Iran and Israel, they've been going at it. Iran has launched and threatened the very fabric of global peace. Israel has been going on and taking out major sites of Iran, taking out high-end leaders in practically just a few days. So the Middle East right now isn't simmering, it is boiling red hot. And it's boiling much faster than minute rice. This has been simmering for quite a while, but it is hot, red, and boiling. Or is this 2018 all over again? Or is this the true point of no return for Israel and U.S. relations and foreign policy? So stay with me, Perseverance Pioneers. We're going in on deep on this one to give you all of the analysis and all of the thoughts that we have currently with everything shaping on with global affairs. So let's back it up just a little bit. It's been purely 72 hours of escalation. And over the last 72 hours alone, Iran has had many attacks on Israel in response to Israel going after nuclear sites. And a U.S. MQ Reaper was intercepted over the Gulf. Tehran declared the region will not be safe for foreign invaders. Now, this isn't political theater. These are moves on a global chessboard, and they're heating up fast. So we have to ask ourselves, Perseverance Pioneers, are we already past the red line? Are we already past the point of no return? Because red lines don't mean anything if no one enforces them. Israel activated thousands of reservists. Oil hit $94 a barrel. Gold spiked over the past. In 48 hours, the markets and the militaries are telling us something. Are we listening to that? And on this show, Perseverance Pioneers, I just want to take a moment. To talk about another point in time when there was a conflict raging or simmering in the Middle East, post 9/11. But we have actual physical things that we want to show on screen from another conflict that was said to be quick and so easy to do, and then it turns out it was the opposite. So these are real papers from 2003, if everybody remembers these headlines. Right? Remembering these headlines, everyone? Remember? Quick, simple, and easy. And this isn't to say that right now, currently, we could have one of the biggest state sponsors of terrorism on their knees coming to us wanting to end this bloodshed, wanting for us to end any kind of actions that Israel is taking. But there's a lot of discussions that are being brought up of U.S. involvement, U.S. troop involvement. We have to ask ourselves, have we seen this story before? Have we seen how this plays out? For simple, quick, and easy operations that would be so easy to do within a matter of time, this all could be over. This conflict can be over. Those were the same conversations taking place post 9/11. And what happened? We ended up being over there for 20 years, more than 20 years. Spent billions upon billions of dollars. We've lost countless men and women, sons and daughters of America, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, and all for something that was supposed to end quickly and restore everything in democracy to the Middle East. So we really need to ask ourselves, are we in this moment right now? And what is leadership going to do about this moment right now? I feel we're at a point right now where it hasn't been an attack on American soil, but we are at a point now where, if you remember the famous conversations about weapons of mass destruction and what that all brought into the picture, and it's going to be up to the current president to decide whether the information he has been relayed is sufficient enough to make drastic actions on the next few days ahead. So if we all remember, in 2018, we had nukes in the headlines and a dictator talking fire and fury. Then President Trump and Kim Jong-un met. The world exhaled. But Iran isn't North Korea. That's the facts. Tehran is backed by Russia and China that have been pushed closer together over the last 4 years, unfortunately. due to that policy, due to the lack of that peace through strength policy. Their proxies stretch from Gaza to Baghdad. Their nuclear sites are deep underground. The stakes are higher and the players are much, much bolder. So now, what's Iran's strategy throughout all this? We have to ask ourselves, what is their true strategy? Really? Breakout of economic collapse, dominate the region with proxies, test the West resolve, while America argues with itself to go to war, to not go to war, to get involved, to not get involved, to send troops and support, to not send troops and support. They're not improvising. This is steps leading to something greater. Many people are running around right now saying we're already in this World War III. This is already happening. This is the prelude to where we are all going. I don't know if we're going that far, but the next 24, 48 hours, next 5 days or so could have drastic consequences on where we see ourselves going. So let's look at the past conflicts that we've had by the numbers. Every war starts with it won't last long. In 1991, the Gulf War, 700,000 U.S. troops. 2003, Operation Enduring Iraqi Freedom, 4,497 American lives lost. Syria, 500,000 plus dead, 12 million displaced from their homes and communities. And Iran, 7 direct confrontations with the U.S. since 2007. No full-scale war yet, but what is this telling us? What is this telling us that is bound to happen sooner or later while everything is unfolding right before our eyes? So this is a global shakedown. This is a global pressure cooker. If you heard of potlucks, everything's being thrown into this massive potlucks. You've got all these other conflicts: Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas. Now Iran's getting into the picture. Now, in this global pressure cooker, China's making oil deals with Iran. Russia is sending drone and cyber teams. Turkey is bracing for conflict of a complete fallout. The fuse is lit, and the world is choosing sides as we speak. That is happening. The world is choosing sides, and it looks like we're going to have to do the same sooner or later. But we still believe on this podcast that diplomacy is the best weapon. I still firmly believe that there should be no sons or daughters going to any country to help fuel and promote another Middle East 20-year war conflict. Remember, it always starts with, this won't be a long-term thing. Look at Iraq. Look at Desert Storm. Look at all these other conflicts that started in the Middle East and spiraled to where they became. There's still a chance. There's still a chance for global peace. The mediators are reportedly active in the situation. France is pushing for a ceasefire. The UN has called an emergency council, but diplomacy without action is just a delay until the inevitable happens. So now we're asking ourselves, we're saying, hey, what does this mean for us, John? For all of the perseverance pioneers out there means, well, could mean that we could be involved in another global outbreak, another global full-scale war, one way or another, supplying weapons, then moving troops, moving ships, then providing support. What does that support look like? Is it boots on the ground or other material? We support our brave men and women. We support everyone that puts their life on the line for this country, whether you're retired, active duty, or currently being moved around for everything that's about to pop off in the Middle East, or maybe nothing will come of it. But we support you. But are these decisions in the best interest of things just pulling out of a 20-year war, now seeking to go into another 20-year war? And this is where the leadership is really going to make a difference. So what does this mean for all of us? Don't think this is just over there type of deal. What could this mean for us? We've had some drops in gas in the United States. $6 gas, very possible. Troop deployments, some are already moving, some are already underway. Some aircraft carriers are already making their way closer to the Middle East. Could this be a new war, World War III? Not unthinkable. This matters. It matters to you, to your family, and to our nation's future, especially if you have anyone currently serving, because where do you think it's going to ultimately end up? It's going to ultimately end up with people serving in this country going into conflicts like that, sending in groups and units to help assist, provide support. Then something wider happens, and the next thing you know, we are at a full-scale involvement in this conflict. And I don't think anybody wants to see this. Anyone wants to see this, especially after us just getting out of Iraq and Afghanistan after that whole 20-year mess. and we support all the efforts of our troops and everything that they did over there. But all the money spent and the lives lost, people really have to call into question, was it worth it? Now, asking another question, will Iran go nuclear? Which is what everyone wants to know, which is why this conflict is basically breaking out. President Trump is saying Iran cannot ever, now or in the future, have a nuclear weapon. And I think everyone agrees with that. Everyone. Show me somebody that said, no, they should have one. Let's talk about that elephant in the room. Will Iran actually build the bomb? Uranium enriched in Iran reached 83.7%. The breakout time was 10 days. Full weaponization, maybe 6 to 12 months. Iran claims religious reasons to prevent nukes, but their 2018 atomic record books say otherwise. And if they don't go nuclear, Israel acts, the U.S. follows, and war becomes reality. It's not something that's just talked about. It is in, and we are full scale in. And I think that's why we want to avoid that. That's why the U.S. built this and has been talked about very much over the media and the airwaves. So if the U.S. was to get involved, what could that possibly look like? As we were mentioning, we're already seeing aircraft carriers make their way closer to the Middle East for who knows. That information we won't have. But the U.S. built specific armory if we had to strike in a situation like this. That's why the U.S. built the GBU, known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or Bunker Buster Bomb. 30,000 pounds of steel and explosives, pierce 200 feet of concrete or 60 feet of rock, solid rock. Only deliverable, because it's 30,000 pounds, it's only deliverable or being able to be dropped from a B-2 stealth bomber. It's not a warning, it's a promise. You can run as deep as you can, but you can't hide. Not from the bunker buster bomb. But even the biggest bomb can't solve what the world refuses to confront. What happens after the red line is crossed and no one has the will to draw another red line or the will to continue diplomacy or discussions? Is that all when full-out world war breaks out? And God forbid such should happen. But we wanted to bring this topic up to everyone, all of our perseverance pioneers, because this is something going on right now that affects every single one of us on the national stage, on the global stage, and right here at home, especially if you have family members, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters serving. This is a time for them to be basically wondering what's going to be happening next. Perseverance pioneers, if we are standing at the edge, it's not just for us to observe, it's on all of us to act. And that's why we wanted to bring it to the forefront of our episode today. So as always, stay alert, stay informed, and as always, stay resilient. If you really like the information in this episode today, join us next week for another truth-filled ride through the fog of war and the power of perseverance. And we'll be here as to update you all as these developments keep unfolding right before our eyes, to give all of our perseverance pioneers our viewpoint to all of our audience and to everyone out there. So don't forget to follow, like, share, subscribe, all that on all the social platforms that we're on. So thank you so much for allowing me into your home this evening, and have a great evening, everyone.